The next phase is schematic design, and oftentimes the pre-design is kind of rolled into the schematic design in a lot of architecture offices, so they may just tell you that we do schematic design and forget to, or omit that they do pre-design, but it all needs to occur, so sometimes it's just wrapped into the schematic design phase. But the schematic design phase is when you take the parameters that were established and the hierarchies that and the goals from pre-design and move them into something that you can start laying out floor plans, elevations, and site plans, and start to have discussions with the client on what things start to look like, how they start to lay out. No, we want something that's a little larger in this area. This is the view we'd really like to see out of that window. Those types of things. And so it starts to bring the stuff that's real conceptual without any hard lines into something that's a little bit more defined and something that can just provide a basis for discussion. Oftentimes this part of the process is a lot of back and forth between the owner and the architect, and sometimes local agencies like the planning department, because it's a controversial project, or they'd really like to have input on what's also in that area because it's an important part of their master plan. And you just start to be able to have meetings and discussions and refinement of some of the concepts that are winning concepts as you move through. This portion of the design is pretty intensive with the owner, and they're going to be involved in a lot of the decisions that are made. So as an owner, you would expect to be really involved in this part of the project. It really sets the tone for the whole design as you move through. The deliverables for this portion of the project are going to be a floor plan, a site plan, probably schematic elevations, maybe some key sections or interior elevations depending on the product or the project and what's important to the client and what you're trying to design for. Oftentimes at the end of this process, you will go to the planning department for approval. And I want to kind of go into a little bit briefly about the difference between a planning department and a building department. And I'll talk about the building department in that portion, that phase that it deals with it. But the planning department is part of the community development department with the city or the county or whatever jurisdiction you're in. And they're concerned with the type of use in the location that it is. So they're concerned with the master planning of, let's say, a town. We want the industrial in this part of town. We don't, if you're next to a residential neighborhood, then you can only be this tall, or you can only have these uses. So they're more concerned with really where they want to move the community to, the vision, the long-term vision for the community and in the built environment. So if you have, oftentimes a project will need to get planning department approval if it's not already approved use in that zone. If you're in a residential neighborhood and you want to build a house, you don't need to go to the planning department unless there's something that is going to be out of place or out of character for that house. But if you want to put a church in an industrial zone and it's something that has a conditional approval, like you can do that in some jurisdictions, but you're going to need approval to do it, and they're going to put parameters on you as well that you're going to need to meet to be able to be approved. So that's called getting entitlement for your project. And at the end of schematic design, oftentimes that's the next step, is going to the planning department and making sure that we're going to be approved for this project, because now you have a concept that is more hard-lined and this is what we want to do there. It doesn't mean that that wall has to be right there when you actually go through to the building department and do your actual building drawings. It's conceptually, this is what we want approved, and we're going to stick really close to it, and that's the schematic design phase. So after that, then you get entitlement for your project, and you can move into the next portions of the project.